Hey guys, and welcome to this video. Today we have a very interesting video concept that was suggested by a subscriber. We have Joe Biden and Elizabeth Warren as his running mate against, yes, Joe Biden and Val Demings as his running mate. So you have Biden against Biden in the presidential race. Himself versus himself. But just with different running mates. And this obviously would never happen, but it's just an interesting, fun idea to see what would happen if he had just two different running mates and what would really happen in the election. So you have Biden and Val Demings. I know the subscriber suggested Kamala Harris. However, I believe Val Demings is the better vice presidential nominee for Vice President Biden. Excuse me. Actually, it will be President Biden in this election scenario because Biden would have a 100% chance of winning. Because if Biden and Demings lose, then Biden and Warren would win. But I believe that Val Demings is the much better VP nominee than Kamala Harris. So you have Biden and Demings in blue. You have Biden and Warren in more of the greenish category because the Green Party, which has very similar ideas to Elizabeth Warren, is these colors. So first, let's just fill in all of what would be the traditionally Republican states. And in this scenario, I believe Joe Biden then would win all of these traditional Republican states. And the reason is that they don't have any conservative to choose from at all. Not a single one of them. And they would just be going with whoever would be the more moderate candidate. In this scenario, Biden and Demings would be the moderate candidate, when Elizabeth Warren, of course, is the more progressive candidate. So it would be safe to say that Demings and Biden would then win these states. It's weird seeing all of these states filled in blue. Never really see that happen. It's interesting to see. And then here is where everything would get crazy. Obviously, we have no idea of what would really happen because the scenario would never happen, but this is just for fun, playing around with it, and what I think could be a possibility. So let's start in Texas and Georgia and Arizona, North Carolina for this. So these four states. And we can add Ohio to this as well. So we have Arizona, Texas, Georgia, North Carolina, Ohio. These five states obviously do have a strong left population. But by left, it's not that many progressives in these five states, especially Texas and Georgia, where you do have the Democrats and how the state is moving more and more to the left in Texas and Georgia. It's more of the moderates. The states aren't becoming progressive, they're becoming moderate. So I believe here they would go to the moderate candidate. But in this scenario, I also believe it wouldn't be safe. In these states, it would be something more like lean in Arizona. Texas and Georgia, I believe, would be likely for Biden and Demings. Just because, and same with North Carolina, just because of how the Democratic population there isn't progressive. It's a moderate party there, so obviously they would go with the moderate candidate. And Ohio, I believe here would be the same thing with Arizona, more of a lean margin because they do have a progressive population there. It's just not that strong. So now, obviously, then they have 223 electoral votes. Time to give Joe Biden and Elizabeth Warren some votes now. So let's start off with Massachusetts. I believe Massachusetts would be safe for the Biden-Warren campaign just because of how Elizabeth Warren's home state is in Massachusetts. I believe Vermont would also go green because of Bernie Sanders, who lives there and is the senator for Vermont. Michigan, I believe, would also be going green because they do have their own progressive governor. They have Gretchen Whitmer. She is a progressive governor. And she has a very high approval rating, so I believe it would go that way too. And same with New Hampshire. I believe that this whole, really, Northeast New England would go to the Warren campaign and Biden campaign. Instead of saying Biden-Warren campaign and Biden-Demings every time, I'll just say with Elizabeth Warren and Val Demings. So I think that this whole section would then go to Warren, but none of them would really be safe. I would consider Massachusetts to be more of a safe one, and so would Vermont, but everything else would be more of a likely margin. New York has a strong progressive population as well, because of course you have AOC. AOC is the most influential member of the House, arguably, because of just how much she is influenced, and she is likely to run in 2024 for president if Donald Trump wins re-election. So then that scenario, I think then New York would then tilt towards Warren, and then you go through states, and like Illinois, I believe, would also do that as well, do a very tilt margin. And then let's go to the West Coast. The West Coast in the 2016 primaries, in both the 2016 and 2020 primaries, overwhelmingly went for Bernie Sanders over either Joe Biden or Hillary Clinton. And obviously, Biden and Clinton were the moderates, and Bernie Sanders was the progressive. And since Elizabeth Warren is on the ticket as a progressive, that will appeal to many of them, and then that would all go towards Warren. And I believe that, yes, so at this stage you would have 168 and 223. Let's just add this here. I believe then Maine as a whole would go towards Warren, and so would the first district, but then the second district, which is much more conservative, would go more towards with Val Demings. So here now we have a lot of states to be filled in, and these obviously we have no idea. We are clueless here, but it would be safe to say that the majority of these states, if not all of these, would also be going towards the Biden-Demings presidency. Because if any conservative would have the choice between these two options, they would pick this one right here. Because they do not want Elizabeth Warren in the White House, just because of the progressive ideology. So it would be safe to just assume that most of these states would then tilt this way. I wouldn't say a lean margin. I would say a lot of these would tilt. But it would be a roughly competitive race. But here, I can't see Elizabeth Warren being able to rack up many electoral votes when there is another moderate who is against her. Because you would have every conservative voting for the moderate Democrat. You would have almost every independent voting for the moderate Democrat. They're independents for a reason. You don't really have any independents that are true Bernie supporters. And then you also have a large moderate population, Democrat population, that would also be going towards Biden and Demings as well. And then for there, you would have also Nevada, then I would believe, then could go and do a tilt margin for Biden and Elizabeth Warren. But here, you see all these green states, and it's very possible that then Biden and Demings would then be able to flip Illinois to tilt blue. But, this is just a scenario of what may happen. This is just for fun. This scenario will never happen, but just looking at the possibility, what if? And everyone here watching, thank you guys for watching. If you like this concept and would like more scenarios like this just for fun, just make sure if you want, you can give it a like, subscribe if you want to see more content like this, and give a suggestion in the comments of what you guys think. What did you think? Did you agree with this? And any suggestions you have for the future. So thank you.